Alright guys, welcome back to Exquisite Tutorials. In today's video, we're going to solve some questions on Pursuit-TME, some likely questions that you see in your exam as a Pursuit-TME student. And we'll use these questions to cover, our attempt to use this question to cover your scheme, so that by this video you have covered at least 60 to 70% of what you're supposed to cover for your Pursuit-TME video. So this is a summary video. Now the first question here is: a man is 5 times as old as his son. If the sum of their ages is 72 years, find the difference between their ages. I repeat again: a man is 5 times as old as his son. If the sum of their ages is 72 years, find the difference between their ages. Okay, let's say this is the man's age. He said a man is 5 times as old as his son. So 5 times of his son's age, we are calling S the age of the son and M the age of the man. So 5 times of the son's age will give you the man's age. If the sum of their ages is 72, man plus son, when you add their age, you will get 72. Find the difference between their ages. So we are actually looking for man minus son. The options here are 48 years, 40 years, 38 years, and 28 years. Now this question is actually under simultaneous equation, so I'll be using this to explain simultaneous equation. Now whenever you have two unknowns, it is called the simultaneous equation. 3 unknowns, 4 unknowns is called the simultaneous equation. But for this, I'll give you a shortcut where you used to get your value of S. So when I take this guy here, I will have this. Now when you want to get S, it's as easy as ABC. What you do is this times this, 0 times the coefficient of M, that's 0, minus M times this, that's 72, M 1 times 72, then all over minus 5 times 1. If 2 was here, you do minus 5 times 2. So you have minus 5 times 1, that's minus 5. Then minus 1 times 1, that's 1. So this is minus 72 all over minus 6. Mind you, this is for S, not M. S, anytime you arrange this second variable here, this is what you're actually solving for. So when we divide here, we are going to have 1. We are going to have 12 years for the son. So the son's age is 12 years. Now we substitute this 12 into this equation. We are going to have man plus 12 equals to 72. When I take this here, I'll have M is equals to 72 minus 12. That's M is equals to 60 years. So if you want to test it, 5 times 12 will give you 60. But that's not what they ask. They ask for the difference between their ages. So you are going to do 60 minus 12. So M minus S is 60 minus 12. That's 48 years. So the correct option is option A, 48 years. Don't forget, the shortcut is whenever you have arranged your simultaneous equation to this form, to get this second variable, not this first one, this second variable, what you do is the constant here times the coefficient of M here minus this times this all over this times this minus this times this. So you are doing this times this minus this times this all over this times this minus this times this, as easy as ABC. Now let's move over to question 2. For question 2, we have find the length of a side of a square which is equal in area to a rectangle measuring 45 cm by 5 cm. A 25 cm, B 23 cm, C 16 cm, D 15 cm. So we have to look for the length of a side of a square. Now what's the property of a square? A square, all the sides are equal. All the sides are equal. The perimeter of a square or any shape is the sum of the distance around that shape. The perimeter of a square is 4L. The area is length times length, S square. Then for a rectangle, we have length times breadth. Length times breadth. The length is the longest side. Now what's the property of a rectangle? Two sides, opposite sides are equal. It also has 4 sides. The area of a rectangle is L length times breadth. while the perimeter is 2 bracket L plus B. Other shapes includes the trapezium. If this is A, this is B, and this is the height of the trapezium, the area is 1/2 bracket A plus B times height. So you add these two opposite sides are parallel, multiply it with this height, then divide by 2. If we had a rectangle, we have the base and the height as h. The area is 1/2 times the base height. Now we're not concerned with this, I'm just giving a summary of all this. Now the question is, find the length of a side of a square which is equal to the area of a rectangle, measuring this. So the area of this square, they are saying the area of this square is equal to the area of this rectangle. So we are going to have L square here will be equals to the area of this guy. They say the rectangle is measuring 45 times 5. This is 45 times 5. Now if you attempt to do this, you know you are not using calculator in your exam hall. So if you attempt to do this, you may get confused if you don't know how to find the square root of a large number. What you do is to break down this other number here. This is L square is equals to, what is 45? 45 is actually 9 times 5. Then we have this times 5. Now what is this 5 times 5? This is actually 25. Now when I find the square root of both sides, square root of 9 is 3, square root of 5 is 25 is 5. So the length is actually 15 cm square. 15 cm square. That's option D. Now let's move to the next question 3. An arc of a circle of radius 6 cm is 8 centimeters long. Find the area of the sector. Now let me quickly talk about circle. If this is a circle, the distance around this circle is what we call the circumference of the circle, and that distance or perimeter is giving us 2 pi r. Now if you measure, there's a particular point called the center of the circle. That point, if you measure any point in the circumference to that point, it will give you a constant distance, which is called r. Now how do we get a circle? If I have something like this, I put my hand here and I start drawing something like this. I put my hand here, I start drawing something like this. You find that this length is constant, but with that I have been able to draw a circle. So that constant length, this point is the center of the circle. That constant length is what we call the radius of the circle. Now twice of that constant length is what we call the diameter of the circle. So diameter is 2 r. Now diameter is what we call the longest chord of a circle. Now any line that cuts a circle into 2 parts, whether the parts are equal or not, that line is known as what is known as a chord. Now the diameter is referred to as the longest chord because it's actually twice the radius. So the diameter is the longest chord. Now after cutting a circle into 2 parts, this part is what we call the segment, and this part is what we also call the segment. So if you cut a circle into 2 parts, you will get what we call segments. Now there's something we call the major segment and there's something we call the minor segment. The major segment is the biggest part, while the minor segment is the smallest part. Now each of all these segments has their area and their perimeter. Now what do we call an arc? An arc. This is actually an arc. This length here is an arc. This length here is an arc. Then if I have a circle and I divide it into this form from the center, such that 2 radius will cut it to be in this form. Now I did not get a segment. What I now get now is a sector. So this is a minor sector, this is a major sector. And they also have their perimeter. What's the perimeter of this sector? Is actually this radius plus this arc. What is the perimeter of this sector? Is this radius plus this arc. What is the perimeter of this sector here, this segment here? It is this arc plus this length, this chord here. Now what is the question saying? An arc of a circle definitely we'll be talking about something like this, is 8 cm long. Find the area of the sector. An arc of a circle is 8 cm long. Find the area of the sector. Now, if it is a sector, there's an angle here, theta. There's an angle here, and the length of this arc is what we call L. Now, the length of the arc is given as theta over 360 times pi arrow square times pi arrow square. Sorry, 2 pi arrow. 2 pi arrow. Now, because the total length here is 2 pi arrow, the total circumference, so the length of just this part will be this angle suspended divided by 360 times this. And the area of that sector, will be theta over 360 times pi arrow square, Now let's go back to the question. An arc of a circle of radius 6 cm, so we have the radius as 6, is 8 cm long. We have the radius as 6, we have this. We are going to find theta. So let's substitute. They said the length of that arc is actually 8 cm, so we have 8 is equals to theta over 360 times 2 pi times arrow. What is our arrow? Our arrow is 6 cm. Now we want to use that to get our theta so that we can substitute here, because they ask us for area, they don't ask us for angle. Now what do we do? If I cancel out 2 here, I'll cancel out 2 here. I'll have 4 is equals to 6 pi times theta over 360. Now there's no use for me to get, I don't need to get theta. I can just find theta over 360. How do I do that? I'll divide by 6 pi. So theta over 360 will be 4 over 6 pi. I just took this guy here. I don't want to get theta over 360 because there's also theta over 360 here. So anyway I see theta over 360, I'll put 4 over 6 pi. So the area becomes 4 over 6 pi times pi arrow square. Don't forget that theta over 360 here is 4 over 6 pi. So this pi cancel out. We are left with A is equal to 4 over 6 times arrow square. What is that, our arrow? The question says that the radius is 6. So we have 6 square. 6, one of these 6 cancel out here. We are left with 4 times 6, which is 24 cm. So we have 24 cm square. Now sometimes the question can be tricky. Sometimes they can ask you for the perimeter of this sector. What's the perimeter of this sector? The radius plus the radius plus this length. We'll get the length. We have the length, we know the radius. They can ask for this. Same thing here. If you are asked for the perimeter of a segment, you have to form a sector here. After you form a sector, the perimeter of this segment is the length plus this. But the area of this segment is the area of this full sector minus the area of this triangle. You use that to get the area of this segment. So you can get the area of the sector here. You can get the area of this triangle. There's a formula that says if you have, two sides, A and B, and you know this angle theta, that the area is 1 over 2 sine AB sine theta. So you can use that to get the area of this triangle. Now when you want to get the area of this segment, do the area of the sector minus the area of the triangle, you get the area of the segment. Now let's move to the next question. Question 4. The quadratic equation whose roots are -4 and 7 is, the first option here is x squared plus 3x plus 28 equals 0. The second one is x squared minus 3x plus 28. The third one is x squared minus 3x minus 28 equals 0. Then the fourth is x squared plus 3x minus 28 equals 0. Now we are looking for the quadratic equation that the answer is actually this. Now there's a formula that says that x squared minus the sum of the roots, if the roots are alpha and beta, plus alpha beta, that this will give you the quadratic equation. Now let's plug in these two roots here. Let's call alpha minus 4 and beta plus 7. So we have x squared minus minus 4 plus 7 x plus alpha beta minus 4 times 7 equals 0. So x squared minus 4 plus 7 is plus 3. Then we have a minus sign here. We have minus 3x minus 28 equals 0. That will be the answer. Now, to solve a quadratic equation, there is also a formula in case you want to solve this and get back to this. Now, if you have a quadratic equation of this form, our x is given as this. What is commonly called the almighty formula, but it's actually called, the correct name is the quadratic formula. Now, your a is the coefficient of x, which is 1. Your b is the coefficient of x, sorry, a is the coefficient of x squared, b is the coefficient of x, which is minus 3, and c is the coefficient of is the constant term. So if you want to get this guy back, what you simply do is to impute all this value. So you have minus b, which is minus 3. Don't forget that this is minus b, so we have minus 3 plus or minus square root of b squared minus 3 whole square will give you 9 minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is minus 28, all over 2 times 1. So you can actually see that this minus times this minus will actually give you a plus sign. So we have 3 plus or minus square root of 9 plus 4 times 28 all over 2. Now, what's 4 times 28? Let's quickly do that because you are not going to have a calculator with you there. 8 times 4, that's 32. 4 times 2, that's 8 plus 3, that's 11. Now, when you add 9 to 11, you will get 1, 2, 1. So this is 3 plus or minus square root of 1, 2, 1 all over 2. What is the square root of 121? That's 11. So you have 3 plus or minus 11 all over 2. 3 plus 11, that's 14. 14 divided by 2, you get 7, or you can see the 7. 3 minus 11, that's minus 8. Minus 8 divided by 2, you get minus 4. So you can see that you can actually get this from this formula. Now, there are several questions that you can also see for quadratic equation, but for this video, we may not talk about that. Question 5. The sum of 3 numbers in base 2 is 11101. When you add 3 numbers, you will get 11101. If the first 2 numbers are 1011 and 1101, find the third number. Let's call the third number x. Now, they are all in base 2. The first option here is 11 base 2. The second is 101 base 2. The third is 1011 base 2. And the last number here is 1111 base 2. Now, they said the sum of these 3 numbers will give you this. Now, let me just tell you, so that you not stress yourself, or so that you will not make any mistake in your exam, I will recommend that you strictly do this, except you already know how to add and subtract in several bases. But I will advise you, so as not to make mistake, always convert everything to base 10, then you do the normal solving, then you convert back to the required base. Now, I'll convert this to base 10, convert this to base 10 with a shortcut. I'm not going to give you that long procedure. Now, when you want to convert this to base 10, now, supposing it was base 5, you still do the same thing. Anywhere you see 2, you put 5. I will do 2 times 2. Since we are working with base 1, if it's base 5, we'll do times 5. 1 times 2, that's 2, plus this one here, you get 3. Then times again with 2, you will get 6, plus this one, you will get 7. Then times again with 2, you will get 14, plus this 0, you will get 14. Then times again with 2, you will get 28, plus this one, you will get 29. Do not times, you stopped there, you will just stop there. Now, for this one, let's convert also to base 10. Times with 2, you will get 2, plus this 0, you will get 2. Times with 2 again, you will get 4, plus this one, you will get 5. Times with 2, you will get 10, plus this last one, you will get 11. You stop there. Now for this last one, you have 1101 times with 2, you will get 2, plus this first one, you will get 3, times with 2, you will get 6, plus this 0, you will get 6, times with 2 again, you will get 12, plus this last one, you will get 13. You stop there. So they said that when you add this number, which is 11, plus this number, which is 13, plus x, you are supposed to get this number here, which is 29. So when we take everything to the other side, x will be, okay, this is 11 plus this is 24 plus x equals to 29. Now when you take this to the other side, x will be 5. So we have gotten 5. Now we want to convert 5 back to base 2. Now when you want to convert back to base 2, you put the 5 and you put the 2. If it is base 3 you are converting to, you put 3 here, whichever base you are doing. But note that if you are working with base 2, all your numbers here must not be up to 2. If this is base 3, you can have 2, but it must not be greater than, it must not be equal to 3. Now 5 divided by 2 is actually 2 remainder 1. You get 2 remainder 1. 2 divided by 2, you will get 1 remainder 0. Since you have gotten something that is lesser than 2, there's no need to divide again. You start reading like this upward. So you start 1 0 1. That will be your answer, base 2. So that's option B. Now we'll go for a short break. After the break, we'll solve 5 other questions. We'll continue to forge ahead. Welcome back from that short break. We'll go over to our 6th question, which is solve the equation 3 raised to power x equals to 1 over 81. 3 raised to power x equals to 1 over 81. This question is under indices. Although you can actually use logarithm, but you don't have calculator, so you will be needing that. The first option here is a is equals to 4, b is equals to 3, c equals to 4, d equals to minus 3. Now let's solve this. Now remember that 81 is 3 raised to power 3, 3 raised to power 4. So this is 3 raised to power x equals to 1 over 3 raised to power 4. What I would strongly recommend is anytime you see an indices question, in case you don't know that 81 is 3 raised to power 4, what you do quickly, do 3 times 3, you keep the answer, times it again with 3, keep the answer, times it again with 3 again, till you get that particular number, because they will never set a question that is not a factor of 3. So they are setting this because they know that this is a factor of 3 so that you can solve, although you are expected to know this. Now the next thing, there's a rule of indices that says that whenever you have a power at the denominator and you want to take it up, you introduce a minus sign. So this becomes 3 raised to power x equals to 3 raised to power minus 4. If this was the original form and you want to remove this minus sign, you bring it down such that you have 1 over this. So it's the same thing. So now what is common in these two equations? This equation, 3 is here, 3 is here, but what we don't know, so they can cancel out, is this top. So it means that x is equals to minus 4. Because for these two things to be equal, if 3 is here, 3 is here, it means that if these two things are equal, their power must also be equal. So x is equals to minus 4. Now sometimes the question can be tricky. Imagine that this part is raised to power minus 1. To remove this minus sign, when you are taking it up, this minus sign will go. So this becomes plus. This place will eventually turn to plus 1. They can as well deceive you and put it as 1 over 3x. Now you have to take this guy up. So this becomes 3 raised to power minus x. Whichever way the question comes, you should be able to solve it. Now let's move over to question 7, which says log 27 base 3, log 27 base 3 plus, they said simplify, 2 log 9 base 3 minus log 3 base 54 base 3. They said we should simplify this. Now observe this 27, observe this 9. They are all factors of 3. So this is log 3 raised to power 3 base 3, because 27 is 3 raised to power 3, plus 2 log 3 raised to power 2 base 3, 9 is 2 raised to power 3, then minus brackets. Now this log 54 is actually 2 times 27, and this 27 is 3 raised to power 2. So remember in logarithm that if we have log a times b, it is the same thing as log a plus log b. So this log 54 can be represented as log 2 times 3 raised to power 2, 3 raised to power 3. So we can now separate these two things and write log 2 plus log 3 raised to power 3 base 3, don't forget the base. Now what do we do next? Now there's also a rule of indices of logarithm that says whenever there's a power here, you can actually drop the power. So this becomes 3 log 3 base 3 plus 2 times 2, which is 4 log 3 base 3, then minus log 3 base 2 minus again. When I bring this power down, I will have 3 log 3 base 3. Now log 3 base 3, log a to its own base will give you 1. Any log to its own base will give you 1. Log 4 base 4 is 1. Log 5 base 5 is 1. The base cannot be 1. Then log 1 is 0. So log 3 base 3 is 1. 1 times 3, that will give you 3. Take note, any number to its own base is 1. Plus log 3 base 3 is also 1. So you have plus 4 times 1. Then minus log 2 base 3. Then this is log 3 base 3 is 1 times minus 3. This is minus 3. Now this plus 3 cancels out with this minus 3. We are left with 4 plus 4 minus log 3 base 2. That will be the answer for this question. Now let's move over to question 8. Question 8. Find the sum of the first 20 terms of the linear sequence 5, 9, 13, 17. They said find the sum of the first 20 terms, the sum of the first 20 terms. Now this is coming from arithmetic progressions. 9 minus 5 is 4, 13 minus 9 is 4, 17 minus, so this is an AP. How do you know an AP? When you subtract this term from the previous term like that, you get a constant number. That's how you know it's an AP. But if you don't get a constant number, then you do division. This divided by this divided by this, and so on. If you get a constant number, that's a common ratio. That's called a GP. Now, the nth term of an arithmetic progression, the nth term of an arithmetic progression is giving us Tn equals to a plus n minus 1d. What this a is the first term. What this d is that common number that you always get when you do this minus this minus this. Then n is the particular term you are looking for. Let's assume you are looking for the third term of this sequence. What is the third term? First, second, third. So we already know that the answer is 3. When you are looking for the third term, n is 3. So we have T3 is equals to a, which is the first term, 5, plus 3 minus 1 times the common difference, 9 minus 5, that will give you 2. So this is 5 plus 3 minus 1, that's 2. 2 times 2, that's, the common difference is 4. 3 minus 1, that's 2. 2 times 4, that's 8. 5 plus 8, that should give you 13. So you can see that the third term is actually 13. If it was a GP, Tn, the nth term is a arrow raised to the power n minus 1. The same way you impute 3 here and so on. But arrow is not that common number you get after you divide. Now we want to now get sum. Sum is actually when you are adding all these terms. If you are looking for sum of first 3 terms, it's actually this plus this plus this. Now there's a formula for a GP, for an AP, which says that Sn is n over 2 brackets 2a plus n minus 1d. This is the sum of the first nth term of an arithmetic progression. If it was a GP, the sum is given as a. Now in some textbook, you will see arrow raised to the power n minus 1 instead of the reverse. But whichever way, stick to this or stick to the other one, whichever way you get the same answer. They are telling you if arrow is lesser than 1, use this. If arrow is greater than 1. For some reasons, because they usually make the mistakes of the signs. That's why they are restricting you to a formula. But this can work for all. Now, what's our n? We are looking for the sum of first 20 terms. So our n is 20. So we are going to have 20 over 2 bracket 2 times first term, which is 10, plus 20 minus 1, that's 19. 19 times the common difference, which is 4. Now, what is 19 times 4? 19 times 2 is 38. 38 times 2, that should be 76. 38 times 2, that should be 76. So we have got our S20 will be 20 over 2 bracket 10 plus 76. Now, don't forget that 2 here, you will get 10 bracket 10 plus 76, that's 86. Now, when you multiply this with 10, you're going to get 860. Now, when you do this, 5 plus 9 plus 13 plus 17 plus 21, you do it to the 20th term. When you add all these values together, what you will get is actually 860. Now, let's move to our 9th question for this. Our 9th question says, evaluate Now, whenever you see this sign in matrix, what this is telling you is find the determinant. Now, how do you find the determinant of a 3 by 3 matrix? What you simply do, write plus, write minus, write plus. So we are going to cross for this first point, we have plus 2. So we have plus 2 bracket. Now, what you do is cross here. What you can see that is left is actually 1, 2, 3, 4. So you do this times this, which is minus 12. 2 times this is minus 12. Then minus this times this. 4 times 0 is 0. Then for this second part, you have minus minus 1. So you have minus minus 1. Then you open your bracket. Now, when you cross this guy and cross this guy, what will be left is this, 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 and this. Just imagine that you close this part and you close this part. What you can see is 5, minus 5, 4, 1, and minus 6. Same thing. This times this, minus 5 times minus 6 is plus 30. Then minus 4 times 1, which is 4. You have gotten for the second part. Now, for this last part, this is plus minus plus. So you have plus minus 3. Open your bracket. Now, when you cross this part and you cross this part, what you are going to get is 0 times this, that's 0, then minus 2 times 1, that's 2. So let's continue. So you are going to have 2 brackets, minus 12 minus 0 is minus 12. Minus times minus, that's plus 1 bracket, 30 minus 4. 30 minus 4. So that's 26. Then we have minus 3 brackets, 0 minus 2, that's minus 2. So 2 times minus 12, that's minus 24, plus 26. Minus times minus, we'll get plus 6. Plus 6. Now, minus 24 plus 26, that will give us plus 2. Then plus our 6, you get 8. You get 8. Or this plus this, that's 32 minus this. You also get 8. So our final answer is 8. If it was a 2 by 2 matrix, let's say you have A, B, C, D. To find the determinant, just simply do A times D minus C times B. And that will be all for this question. Now let's move to our 10th question for this series.
Thanks for watching. Watch out for the next episode on maths. Do not forget, subscribe, comment, and share. And please tell someone about exquisite tutorials, at least one person a day. Thanks so much. We love you.